Hello, we are the Knight family, and we have 3 biological kids. We have Hunter is 12, and Elizabeth is 8, and Preston is 3. And we have one that we're adopting in Ethiopia currently, and his name is Mezakir, and he is 6 months old right now.
We began our adoption journey, I would say probably 8 years ago, 7 years ago. I think God took a lot of circumstances that were in our life in order to bring us to the point we are now. We started our family in a way that wasn't planned, and after 2 children, still wanting a third, we lost 4 pregnancies. And thinking that we still wanted more children, we were pretty sure that God was going to use adoption to bring our next child into the world. However, He went ahead and gave us a 3rd child, a 3rd biological child. But Josh and I still knew that in our hearts, God had already planted a seed for adoption. So I would say probably 2.5 years ago, Josh came home and said that he was ready to start the process again. But the surprise was that he had a specific country in mind. And Josh really felt called to Ethiopia.
I met Lady Bev Klein in 1997, and she was so kind to share her story with me and opened up my eyes to what a much bigger God I served. And so that story has stuck with me for a long time. I came home and told Lori, and she asked me to pray about it and to make sure that that was what we were called to do. And it's very clear in the Bible that we are called to adopt, and so we began our process at that point in time.
As we talk about grace, that we also understand that that implies that there is somebody who's able to do for us something that we can't do for ourselves. And I remember the moment that we saw Mezakir, and we learned about the circumstances surrounding his birth, the country that he was from, the poverty that surrounded his birth and his existence, and the knowledge that on his own he had no endowment, he had no inheritance, he had no family name, and he really had no future set in front of him, and that by a single act of stepping in and saying that just saying that our love was to take him in and to make him a part of us, that immediately he became an heir to the same thing that the biological children that we had are heirs to, and that we do not perceive him any differently, that there's no love difference. And I just think that, again, it's that beautiful picture, the similarity, the sameness of what God's done for us in the theology of adoption, that He's taken us in, and that there is nothing on our own that we could do. There's no way that we could redeem our situations, but in His perfection and in His gift of salvation, His gift of adoption, in His pouring Himself out, that He then gives us the gift of being heirs to Christ Jesus.
Well, we have Susan and me, of course, and we have 5 children. We have Emily, she's 13 years old. We have David, who's 11. We have Mariella, who's 8 years old. Jonathan, who is 7. And Hallie, our newest addition, she's 10 years old.
Yeah, I mean, I really thought everybody was going to think we're crazy, because it's not like, you know, I always say if you took a group of mothers and homemakers and said, okay, who would be the most optimal choice to have, you know, more children, I would not be, like, probably even in the top 3 people you would choose. I mean, I don't get to church on time, you know, I'm not neat, and I'm not with it, but
I think you're with it.
Oh, thank you.
Jonathan, he didn't want to come with us. The only life he knew was the orphanage, and so when the people that brought him to us left, he mourned, and he mourned very expressively. He was very loud, and it lasted pretty much all day, didn't it? In fact, the only thing that would make him happy is we put him in the tub and let him play in the bathtub. And
he had no clue what a family was, so, you know, they've been telling him in the car ride at 3 years old, you're going to meet your mama and your baba, and he's like, mama, mama, but those words didn't really mean anything to him. I really, you know, by the end of that first day, I was like pretty stripped emotionally. I was just laying in the hotel room crying and saying, you know, basically I was like, I have given up my family as I knew it. It was like a dirty trick, you know, that's how I felt. I was like, you know, I have put my family on the altar for this child who is a total stranger to me, that I don't feel like I love or anything, you know. There was no bond there, and which, I mean, how could there be? I didn't know him, but you know, emotionally you're all revved up and everybody's so excited and he's so precious in these pictures and everything, and you get there and you're like, you know, what about my other kids? You know, my life is going to be totally changed. My family is totally changed. And so I'm laying there just sobbing, saying all this to God, and the Lord said to me, you know, Susan, that's what I did for you. And I saw myself as that orphan, you know, really. I mean, it was almost like I couldn't take it in, because I realized, wow, you know, I mean, Jesus, that was the biological child, you know, the one that God carried and, you know, had from infancy and had that bond with. And so for me, that really changed just how I viewed the Lord and what He had done for me.